Hey, what's up out there? Dave Duford here at davidduford.com, where I help insurance agents like you become top producing insurance professionals. Thank you so much for joining. Today's video, or really live stream, is going to really be about a combination of a couple of topics. First, where I'm going to take the direction of this channel over the next year, kind of what you can expect to see, and kind of some of the things I'm going to be involved with. I'm also going to share with you really what it is that I do. And if this is something that's new, there's been a lot of an uptick in watches and viewership. So if you're brand new to insurance or looking around and you wonder kind of what I do, I'm going to go over an overview with you on that. And then last but not least, we're going to have a discussion on goals. So if you have goals or want to have goals in insurance sales success, this audio or video broadcast is going to definitely be for you. So, and we'll also take questions as we progress through the live stream. So if you are watching this live, feel free to leave a question in the chat below. If you're watching a recording of this, you can just leave a chat that way or a question that way. I'll be happy to answer it. So again, a little introduction to myself. My name is David Duford. I am the owner and founder of davidduford.com. What I do, as I say in my tagline, is specialize in helping insurance agents become top producers. I run a national agency where I recruit pretty much everybody anywhere, as long as they fit the profile of what I think it takes to be successful, which is a kind of a combination of gumption, as well as the ability to self-finance in their own lead programs. As I'm wearing in my shirt here, Final Expense Agent Mentor shirt, that's our primary line of business. That's what I used to brand myself as. Now we also sell annuities, Medicare Advantage, mortgage protection, Medicare supplements, pretty much more or less inside of the senior marketplace, 50 and older. That's our specialty. And we have sales and marketing systems with lead programs as well, designed to get you in front of people consistently so that you can close whatever kind of business that you're looking to close, but also have somebody in your back corner to help you when you need it. That's really my role in this entire business, is helping you when you need this support. As far as what to, so that's just a little introduction for myself and what my agency is about. If you're interested in joining, the best thing to do is go to davidduford.com and click Join Dave's Agency in the menu. You'll see more information on how the program works, or the programs that we have works there. You can always go to davidduford.com/contact if you just want to reach out. So let me tell you a little bit about what to expect for, I gotta get rid of this hat, what to expect for 2020. On my channel, and more broadly the kind of content that I'm going to be creating. So I'm putting a little bit more emphasis on a few things, maybe drawing back emphasis on some others. So let's get into that so you kind of know what is going to happen. So you may have noticed, if you've been a subscriber for a couple of months or longer, I've had an increase in the kind of live sales training events that I do with my agents. I'm one of those people that believe you can't publish enough information and content, and the more that's out there, the more people I'll help. So one of the things that I started doing in my agency is doing these hot seat role-playing calls. We do them 2 times a week. We focus on different aspects of the insurance sales presentation. Maybe it's handling objections. Maybe it's learning the pre-qualification routine, script, that kind of thing. But we do it in an environment where the agent can practice the script, but not necessarily be in a situation where, they're at risk, you know what I mean? So it's a good deal. And it's something that I record and I make public for everybody. And I think it's super helpful. And I'm going to do a lot more of those because they help really solidify what really matters. I think if anything is true, I would suggest that I'm guilty of this. The amount of information that I put out tends to be overwhelming, I would think. And it's good to have the pointed, direct to the point, most important training that you can get. And a lot of that will be found in the hot seats. So expect 1 to 2 of those videos every week going forward. They've been instrumental in my agency, and I'm going to continue doing so. So I've been operating a live stream model that's really been focused on more or less targeting people who are targeting on a monthly basis. Usually used to do them on Tuesdays at 6 for an hour and a half and take a Q&A. But what I've decided to do in 2020 is take the whole live stream to a more frequent basis where I'm going to be talking to you guys once a week on different topics related to what we do to help agents grow their insurance practice. So it's going to be a lot like what I've been doing, these Q&A open mic types of sessions, but we're also going to bring on special guests to talk about things like annuities, Medicare Advantage, how to sell other products. So you get a nice diversity of people who are experienced and can share their experience with you, and they will answer your questions live too as well. So we're going to do those Mondays right now, tentatively every Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern in 2020. And one thing that I'm going to be doing I want you guys to pay special attention to my website. I've been doing some upgrades at the end of the year, and I've decided to go into a direction to create hopefully some killer content to help you guys out. If you're watching this and you haven't checked the website out sometime in the future, please check it out, because I'm right in the middle of writing up very detailed, descriptive reviews of different companies and different agencies that agents could possibly work for. I've decided one of my goals in this business is to be the de facto source of a resource for agents who want advice and guidance on what to do in their sales career for insurance. And so I'm putting a lot more effort this year on just creating useful content to help answer a lot of the questions that a lot of agents have, like what agency should I work for? Why is one agency better than another? That kind of thing. So I think ultimately this is a positive thing, and it's positive to you, especially if you're watching this now and look at my website now, and maybe you'll see some articles on some familiar carriers and you want some background information, all with the goal of helping you choose the best agency career as quickly as it can, and with enough information too. So yeah, that's going to be a big push for me. You'll still see content from me daily. My goal is to do daily content of some sort, maybe live streams, maybe interviews, maybe clips from live streams to kind of focus on the key takeaways that we talked about in live stream. So continue to see more of that kind of content. So again, if you're watching this, you have any questions, you're welcome to post a question. Happy to answer any questions you got. If you're watching this on a recording, you can just leave a recording or a message too as well. Let's talk about goals. So this being in January, it's really a prime time to start thinking about what it is that you want to accomplish through the year. So I think part of the reason I'm getting an uptick in viewership on my channel is because agents get back into the swing of things come January and want to lean on resources and training to better their game. I think the biggest thing that we can all do is really think about what it is that we want to accomplish as our goals this year. And whether that's production-based or something else, you need to really take time right now, if you haven't already, to think about what you want to accomplish and put together a strategy to achieve it. So a couple of things I'm going to talk about. There's a lot of different ways to properly goal set, if you will. Some are probably better than others, but I wanted to try to water this down to be as simple as possible of a process that I do myself, but also I think you can implement as well. So I think the first thing you've really, and all of these questions are very serious. They're not something that I think you should be flippant about. You should really give a lot of thought and consideration to this in designing and assessing your goal plan. So the big question you need to ask yourself when it comes to goals and what you want to accomplish is, what do you want? What do you want from the insurance business? What is it that you want out of this? What is your goal? What is the lifestyle that you want? What is your dream? You need to be really thinking about what would it be like in the perfect world where I'm selling insurance? How would my life be? When would I work? How much money would I make? What activities would I do in my free time? How much free time would I have? If that's important to you, you really need to think about what it is that you want to accomplish. Building on that is to ask yourself again, is this what you really want? Not everybody wants to retire in 5 years. Maybe some of us just want meaning or significance out of our lives, and that's fine. And we don't want to necessarily quit and get away from the profession that provides that. So I think, again, really question yourself if what it is that you think that you want is really that important to you. Because what you want to focus on in your goal setting is one thing only that is going to be the most responsible for your success, and go all in on that. We talk a lot about that when we do product selection for new agents. I don't want my agents, for example, doing final expense Medicare annuities as a brand new agent. I want them to focus on one thing, get good at one thing, then build out over time as they earn the right to. It's kind of the same concept with goal setting. You don't want to be in a position where you're going to do 5 different things to accomplish one goal, or I'm going to sell half of my time on the phone and half of my time face-to-face. I had a conversation with a couple agents who were thinking that's the direction they were going, and I kind of gave them my 2 cents on it as far as focusing on one over the other. So once you decide what you really want, the next thing that you have to ask yourself is this, are you willing to pay the price to get it? I used to hear this a lot in a lot of motivational goal-setting type of training. Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar, there's a lot of others too as well. And they commonly talked about paying the price. Initially you think, well, what's the price to pay? Money, leads. I'm not talking about that. It's just that you can't have everything you want in life, but you can have anything in life that you want. So as long as it's not everything. The key point being focus. That's the implication here. And I think if you want something bad enough, it means you're not going to have something else too. And there's a price to pay in order to do that effectively. So let me give you an example. When I got into the insurance business in my mid-20s, I'm 35 now, it was important for me to, in my mind, to give myself, to pay my dues for as long as possible, because even though I was young and I wish I had more time to do things that I didn't end up doing, I knew in the long term, at this time I had 1 child, now I've got 4, I knew it would be a better lifestyle for me if I paid my dues, sacrificed and suffered and struggled. And I did, as you know, I failed out. If you haven't watched the video on that, came back in the business, of course. But I wanted to pay my dues now because I've seen this with agents I deal with. I personally thought that it's a lot harder to take a chance like that when you've got a mortgage, you've got bills to pay, you've got kids to put in the school, and there's a lot of financial demands. So, and the business requires time, so when you think about what is the price that you're going to pay, regardless of what age you're at, you've got to pay the price. And what I believe in the final expense business, at least really in any business model, and you can't look at somebody who's just an absolute savant at the business. I tend to think that the agents who are good at this business or any insurance sales business get it right away. They find a system, they find a lead program, they find a product they like, and they apply it, and they start to see if it's something they enjoy or not. And they may not be as best as they will be, but they should have a general kind of bias in a positive way towards it. Even with that, it's going to take you, and you should have the perspective of having 3 to 5 years before you really master the craft of whatever it is that you're selling and maximize your income. Again, I got an agent, full year in the business, he's probably over $400,000 in business. Okay, he's 22. Not everybody is going to be that way. So it took me probably till year 2 before I made 6 figures. Year 2 to year 3, somewhere in there, because I quit out and got back in. So, everybody's going to be kind of different, but I think generally speaking, the safe play is to always expect it's going to take longer than you want, and you've got to be willing to pay that price. That means, like for me, the price I paid to get where I'm at now, I worked weekends for years. I would come home at 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night, multiple nights a week. I wouldn't be around my family that often, especially when I started recruiting. That brought on a huge responsibility on top of my full-time personal production. And, I probably missed out on a lot, from my son's younger age. But I think, and it's tough to do that, of course, and that was the price I think I had to pay. But it's something that I'm, in a sense, glad that I did, because now I'm at this point where, personally, I can be there all the time for my children and my wife. I work out of the home now. I've got a great thing going on with my business. But it's all because I laid that groundwork in the beginning. And you have to be willing to pay that price. And you have to accept that it may not happen as fast as you'd like it to. I tend to think there's like some mystical spirit in the sky that's watching us, the final expense of gods, as I like to say. And they're always throwing something in front of us to trip us up and get us running into difficulty and not getting the results we want. And then at some point, years later, they just quit doing it because they realize you're not going to quit. So you have to have that never quit mentality. So, and then last but not least, burn the bridges. When you decide on a particular method of generating business, of getting out in the field, seeing the people, and being in a position to where you know what you want to do, put blinders on, and fully commit to it 100%. Tip to all you new agents, what I have discovered personally, professionally, as well as with the most successful agents I've associated with, is they really, 90% of them do one thing extremely well, and that's all they do. Whether it's Adam, who sold 1,000 Medicare Advantage plans last year, Anthony Martin, who wrote over $1 million in final expense business over the phone, sight unseen. They only do one thing. They're not putting their hands into different pots. They're not doing other products. It tends to be that you get distracted from the main source. So you want to be all in and invested on whatever process that you go to. And remember, the way you win this game long term is to be fully committed over time. Most people will waver in their level of commitment and seriousness to the business, which is the reason why a lot of people fail out. They run through frustrations. They get angry. They get mad at our prospects, again, stuff I've all experienced. And they get to a point where they quit because they just can't take it anymore. So, but you have to have, this is mostly a mental battle between you and yourself. You've got to be able to overcome that if you want to have any kind of success. Okay, so some tips here real quick before we wrap this thing up. So the big thing here when we're looking at how do you put your goals together, again, trying to simplify this process. If there is any sort of methodology behind goal setting, this is what I think is good. So number one, most of us are going to have annual income goals, right? Maybe it's $100,000 in net income after expenses. Whatever it is, you need to write that down, and you need to translate that annual goal into a daily goal. The big thing I'm teaching here with my agents in my coaching program is that you need to be process-oriented, not results-oriented. Process orientation means a focus on activity, not a focus on writing apps. Why? Because a system where you focus on the process first and foremost and you achieve it on a daily basis eventually adds up to the results. So the thing is, you can win every day if you focus your winning on the activity that you're doing. So I talked to a couple agents today, for example. One of them wanted to write about $100,000 in net after expenses, and we determined we needed to hit about, based on their commission levels, about $10,000 to $12,000 a month, probably closer to $11,000 to $12,000 a month. And we just divided that by 4, got about $3,000 roughly. Average case size is $600. That's 5 policies a week we need to write. If our conversion ratio stays at 50% of presentations to close deals, then we need to do 10 completed appointments a week. Maybe 11 or 12 to allow for no-shows that happen. So if we got 3 days during the week to do 12 appointments, or 12 appointments, then that means we've got 4 a day to do, right? So your goal is to do 4 presentations a day, 2 in the morning, 2 in the evening, no matter what. And accomplish that every single day before you go home. Why? Because if you don't, you start slacking on your production goals or your activity goals, which translates into slacking results. So, and again, the key is to hit those activity goals on a daily basis because they will add up. We all know if you've had experience in this business, you can do everything right one week and nobody will buy. You can do everything right the next week and then everybody and their mother will buy. It's just the nature of this business. There is that sense of randomness to it. And the way that you weather the storm is have the longer term perspective to be successful. So on top of figuring out what your daily process goal is, you also need to write your goals down, okay? And along with writing them down, you need to track your progress. If you look back into my news feed on my YouTube channel, you'll see the activity tracker I put out a couple of weeks ago. This is an instrumental tool that I think you can download for free. It's available to my agents as well, but it's going to help us monetize the value of our activity. And it helps us stay accountable to what we need to accomplish. For example, one of the things I talk about in the video is that you can track the number of door knocks you do as it relates to the number of presentations you do, as well as how many policies you write. So you can actually see, hey, if it takes 5 door knocks to get into a home, Well, if it takes 2 presentations to make a sale, you need to do 10 door knocks a day if your goal is 1 sale. And if you look at it from a monetized standpoint, if your average case is 600, you divide it by 10 door knocks, each door knock's worth $60, right? So instead of thinking, oh, I got to go knock on another door, now I know when I knock on this door, regardless of the outcome, but because I've been focused on the process, now I'm in a position to where I'm that much closer statistically to realizing that full gain in average commission. So it's and you can do this, same thing with appointment setting as well. How many calls does it make to set an appointment? And really just track your numbers that way. Again, I think it's incredibly powerful. You should be using your tracker, my tracking goal sheet to help, again, give you some guidance and direction on what your process goals need to be on a daily basis. And then last but not least, I think it's important that you also review and rehearse your goals daily, even writing them down, not just one time only, but repeating that process of memorizing what's important to you, repeating it to your subconscious, really just your conscience of what's important for you to accomplish, and remind yourself of that all the time. A lot of top highly productive people carry their goals around in their back pocket. They don't leave very far away from it. For example, for me at least, this book here, I started buying these last year, kind of nice little leather books. And I write down all my thoughts and goals, weekly goals, annual goals in here. I very regularly review them to keep me accountable to what really matters and make sure and to test to see how well I'm achieving my stated goals. So whether you do this, get a spiral bound notebook, write it down. I just think by putting it on paper and rehearsing and reviewing it on a regular basis, regular could be a couple times a week, a couple times a month even, it's going to help you stay focused. Again, the loss of focus, I believe, is why a lot of us struggle in this business, and we want to try to avoid that as much as possible. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and conclude this first live stream, episode 1 of the Dave Duford Show. I will be back Monday next week. I think we'll either have Luis Moreno on Medicare Advantage or possibly Stephen Burgess to talk annuities with us. So join us then. If you're interested in learning more about my agency, you can go to davidduford.com. There you'll see all sorts of content and useful information. And if you'd like to learn more about joining my agency, click the Join Dave's Agency link in the top menu. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for your time. See you next time.